Hey everybody, I don't usually do movie reviews. It's not something that, I don't end up seeing a lot of movies. I love movies, don't get me wrong, absolutely love them. But I don't tend to have a lot of opportunity to go see a whole bunch of movies. I'll see the big ones for the year, but I don't see a lot of, just tons of stuff. So I don't usually do movie reviews. But over the last week, I've been thinking a lot about the big movie of the year, which is of course Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker, and I wanted to share my thoughts. Now this will be a spoiler-free review. It's only been out for a week, so I'm not going to get into any crazy things. I'm just going to give my thoughts on this movie. The reviews are split right down the middle. Some people absolutely love it. Some people really, really dislike it. And honestly, I fall in the dislike category. And there are a few reasons for this. And it's been on my mind so much, it's actually been bumming me out. And that's why I wanted to do this video. I wanted to get my emotions out and I wanted to share them. First of all, some of the things, the movie's just a mess, first of all. And the big things that for me, that make it so that I really don't like this movie. And there are things about it that I do like. There were things about it I really did like. I can say I enjoyed the movie to a certain point, but only as it exists by itself. Because one of the things that about this whole trilogy, you've got the prequels, which begin the story more, in chronological order, and you have the original movies. And I grew up, loving Return of the Jedi. It was my favorite movie. I can still say in some ways it is my favorite movie. I love that movie. I have a lot of nostalgia. I love Empire Strikes Back. I mean, those two movies. I've never been a huge fan of Episode 4 of A New Hope. I don't have really any nostalgia for that movie at all. The prequels I dislike. I think that they're a mess and a wasted opportunity. And I love Rogue One, and I enjoyed The Force Awakens, and I enjoyed The Last Jedi. Despite its flaws. I appreciated that it took some narrative risk. With The Rise of Skywalker, though, for me, I really, if this is a trilogy of trilogies, then it absolutely failed, because it proved that once Disney took over, they had no plan whatsoever going forward. None. The things that were set up in Force Awakens really didn't pay off in either movie. There was no consistent narration going through. I know a lot of you hate the Last Jedi, and that's totally fine. It's legitimate that you don't like it. I enjoyed it because of its narrative risk, but you can't say there was any kind of unity between those three movies. There's not, and it's not Rian Johnson's fault. I'm sorry. He was a director that was brought in. They had no plan, and it's obvious from this movie that there was no plan whatsoever for making this the third act of a 3-act play. If the prequels are the first act and the original trilogy is the second act, and this was meant to be the third act, it absolutely fails in every way humanly possible, because it is basically just a retread of the original trilogy. Now, at this point, this was Return of the Jedi. It ends in very similar ways, and so then it begs the question, well, what was the point? How is this the third act? How does this make it so that this trilogy was the third act of this massive story? It's not. And it's really been bumming me out. I'm not a huge Star Wars fan. I'm not, I enjoy it. I've liked the movies. I've disliked the movies. But, it's never been something that for me was like, oh, it's Star Wars. I'm Star Wars everything. And a lot of people are, and that's great. But yeah, it really bummed me out. I've only watched the first few episodes of The Mandalorian. I think I've watched the first 2.5. And I've enjoyed it, thus far. We don't have Disney Plus, so I haven't been religiously watching. I was watching it with my brother earlier this week. This movie totally killed my desire to watch the rest of The Mandalorian. I know it's good, and I've heard wonderful things, but it's kind of like, I don't have a desire to revisit the universe, if that makes sense. Even though The Mandalorian's good, my desire to visit the universe is kind of like, It's kind of like what would happen with DC. I'm a huge DC fan. You see all the toys behind me? I love Superman. I love DC. But after Justice League, I kind of don't have a desire to revisit that universe. I didn't care for Aquaman. I enjoyed Shazam well enough, but even the other movies coming out with Wonder Woman and stuff, I'm not like, woohoo! I'm more like, I don't really care about that universe now. And that's what The Rise of Skywalker did for me. And so I think that's why I've been so bummed out. This whole week it's been on my mind. And I've just been kind of like, And so that's why I wanted to share this. Feel free to leave comments so that you agree or you disagree. I know this is a very polarizing movie, but I had to get my thoughts out. I had to share them because they've been eating away at me. And I've just been like, this morning I was talking to my wife and I was like, I'm sad that I'm so bummed out by this stupid movie. But I am bummed out by it. So there you go. Leave the comments. Feel free to rip me to shreds if you disagree. I can take it. But you all have a wonderful new year and have a wonderful weekend. And I will talk to you guys later.